So I thought since we just had Nat in here, maybe we could talk about the staff a little bit. So if you want to talk about your teachers a little bit, and maybe a little bit about Mr. Lucas, Mr. Lamb as well. So just your thoughts on the staff when you were here, maybe a favorite teacher or a favorite time with the teacher at the school.
Well, as far as having a favorite teacher, we had two teachers.
We had
right?
two teachers, period.
So it was either Mr. Lucas or Mr. Lamb would be our favorite, and they both were.
Yeah,
for me.
they were. They were a good balance because I think Ken Lamb was science and math, and then Nat was more art and history, which was more me. So yeah, it was a good balance.
Yeah, and I was science and math, so I loved that part. But just to have them just continue on as the school would grow and add a grade, and they'd move up a grade, so they were just so flexible and willing to do that to see the school grow. So some of the memories would be San Clemente. That would be our 8th grade trip. Nothing like Catalina. And just
So what would you do?
Camp.
Capture the flag.
Capture the flag. Yes, on the hills of San Clemente. I also remember all the sports that we had going on here. We had basketball and football and baseball and softball and lots of things for a very small school to do.
So what was the story that you had?
Well, when we had Mr. Lamb, I think it was the upper grades, maybe 7th or 8th, he would do this really cool thing, at least it was for me, where we had Bible reading time, and we could ask him questions. So there would be a lineup of kids on either side of his desk, and if you had something you didn't understand, it was King James Version, so there was a lot. He would answer, and that's when I fell in love with the Bible, and it was through that.
All right, talk a little about your time. I know you talked about the teachers, but a little bit about your time at Christ Lutheran School, and just maybe some of those stories that you remember. Maybe with we're not telling on classmates, but with classmates or with each other, or unique things that you experienced while at Christ Lutheran.
Well, I know for Jennifer, she started off the only girl in the class, so when I came the second year, she was
Happy
to have a few more girls in the class.
That one year when I was the only girl in the class, Ken decided to do a contest, I guess, on our multiplication tables. It was girl against boys. I'm so embarrassed. Of course I won.
We should have talked before.
Well, Sandy, you would talk to me a little bit about some songs that you might have known. Not that you have to sing them, but if you want to, you're welcome to.
No.
Didn't we do a duet?
We probably did. I mean, Ken Lamb had the choristers, and we sang frequently at church, and some of those songs are just still so ingrained in us because we sang them over and over. And we sang together in the choristers, and so the school music and the kids were really involved in worship a lot. That was seen as a real need to connect the school families and with the church. There were a lot of non-church families at our school too, so it was outreach even back in the 1950s.
You want to speak a little bit to, and you'd mentioned the songs, not to embarrass you, but like you guys were at a place that you were remembering the songs, so you want to talk a little bit
Jennifer
about
and I were just at a memorial service a couple weeks ago where we sang the Psalm 23, which we sang over and over again, and we didn't have the words. There weren't enough bulletins for everybody sitting there, but all 5 or 6 verses, whatever it was, just came back to us, and we thought back to the times that we would be up in the balcony singing that for church.
Any others, Jennifer? Any other stories you can think of for your time here?
Oh, there's always a lack of girls. There's so many boys.
What about what would be? We'll go kind of general. What were some fashions for junior hires? Like what did people wear in junior high? So
I don't know, but I remember Ken Lamb having me stand on a desk and measuring my skirt with a ruler, which you would never be able to do today.
No.
And I didn't wear short skirts,
No.
but that's what happened. So he was very strict about those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Dress code.
So
Maybe-
big dress code, no uniform though, right?
No
No.
uniforms. I don't think we could wear shorts or pants to
Oh, no,
school.
no,
It was
dresses.
always
Yeah.
dresses, yeah.
Both of you guys went through confirmation?
We
Yes.
did.
What was confirmation when you were here?
Well, it was with Pastor Lucas,
Mhm.
and it was going through the catechism, so you had to memorize all the questions and answers.
Which we'd already done in school.
Yes, but then you were actually quizzed on that in front of the church, and Pastor Lucas would ask you, and you'd have to repeat what you had memorized.
I just remember the boys on one side, the girls on the other, and it was kind of something you did on Saturday morning,
Yes.
more to kind of hang out, because we had already had all this in school, so it was a little,
And after confirmation, we would sometimes go over to the Helix Theater and see a movie
which
afterwards.
was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, speak a little bit about what was around the church. So the church, to speak maybe, what did the church and school look like building-wise at that time, and then also maybe some other things that were around here. You talked about so you maybe start with the plant here. Yeah.
You mean the physical plant?
Yeah, physical plant, yeah,
Well, it was this L-shaped building here, period.
for the school.
Yeah. Yeah, it was 1, 2, 3, 4 grades, I guess. And then underneath, which is now what?
The library.
dungeon?
Yeah.
That was our
Library.
lunchroom. We had a Campbell's soup machine. Remember that red machine? You could
Mhm.
get a little can of soup and the machine would heat it up. That was our hot lunch program.
Try not to talk, that's why I'm...
And then we didn't have a gym, so up where second level is where we would do all of our sports, where we would do softball or basketball or anything like that. First level looked very similar to what it does now, I think. You know, there was another building that came out where our administration building is right now, but no preschool building, pretty much first and second level.
And bars, which I think are almost illegal now. That
Yes.
We did flips on, we
Yeah,
played
that was our
dodgeball.
That was our playground.
Cream each other with the ball and dodgeball. I remember Mr. Lamb saying, catch it like a baby. Can't do that anymore.
And playing hopscotch and foursquare. That
Jump rope.
was-
Mhm.
Jump rope, jacks, those were the kind of things we did, pretty much.
This is your favorite question. Why do you think, or why did the congregation see the need to have a school at that time?
I have no clue.
Well, I do know there were so many young families here with children, and there were other Lutheran schools like St. Paul's and probably Grace San Diego around, but too far away. So the families got together, and it was a huge commitment back then to say, we are going to open a school. And so they opened first with 4 grades. So it was Mr. Lamb and Mrs. Elser were the first 2 teachers, and then every year thereafter, they pretty much added grades and would add staff to that. But it was a big commitment to say, we're going to step out and begin Christian education here in La Mesa.
This wasn't an exact question I gave you guys, but maybe talk a little bit about connections you made with classmates. Like, did you make lifelong friendships? Did you, just talk a little bit about connections that you might have made, both with classmates, with teachers, with other people from the congregation and school.
Yeah, that's the really cool thing. Our parents are friends, and we're very good friends. Our children are friends, and even there's some instances now where my grandchildren are friends with the kids that came from the school, like Golikoff, Gardner. Yeah, so there's a lot of connections in 4 generations, which
That's pretty cool.
And you see that continuing, where there's the parents went to school here, the children, and the grandchildren. And just to be around people, to be around Mr. Lucas still and Mr. Lamb or others that are here, part of that the early years of the school, like the Humes and the Amblers and a lot of them, that was who we grew up with.
yeah. I know, they're moving into Grossmont Gardens together. Anita's there now.
How has the school helped build for community? So not just for you guys, but just how does it build community? You talked about I'll give you a few feeders, but you talked about that it helps with not all members go to the school, so that we have it's outreach, but just how does the school and church build community in your opinion?
Well, the church, or the school brings people in, and I think maybe wouldn't have chosen this church if the school was drawing card form. So there's that, but I think there's a lot of longevity at this place too. You know, we are a prime example of that. I think the life groups are huge. That's a good thing, and there's very old friendships that go way back.
I don't know what I have to
Okay.
add. Sorry.
As longtime or lifetime members, what do you see as a constant at Christ Lutheran Church Ministries?
I think the commitment to education in the school is huge. And it's the same kind of committed staff that started this school, 50, 60 years ago. And that continues on through the staff today. And when you see all the things that's still involved in worship, a lot of community families being here. The discipleship, like Ken Lamb did, with having kids come up and ask any question about the Bible. That's continued on. So who would have known back then when the decision was made how strong this school community would continue to be, and what a big part it would continue to be of Christ Lutheran Church Ministries.
Yeah, it's a safe place. I think people feel that here. It's not going to, I know, I've been to a lot of other churches. This is a safe place.
Those are all my questions, but do you have anything that you wanted to add? Any other antidotes or things? This video is primarily, we're talking about the generation to generation, the concept of when the school was opened, the decade the school was open. So we're kind of doing decade videos, and so that's the purpose of this video. But we may be able to use something else somewhere else, or an aha moment, even in this thing. So whether we're talking about the school or the church, and just kind of the legacy that the Christ Lutheran Church Ministries has had in the last 75 years.
An example of that I can think of is when we interviewed Nat Lucas. He explained how he was the matchmaker for you and your husband at a summer camp where your husband was a lifeguard. Maybe that would be an interesting story to tell.
Oh, from your perspective, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, gosh, what do I leave out?
I was there too, so
I know.
remember all that.
Yeah, I was really young, and I couldn't even be a counselor. I was too young. Steve, my husband of 46 years this month, was the lifeguard, and I was a kitchen help. And Sandy and I were hanging out, and the two guys from Oceanside, which is where they were from, were hanging out, and Stephanie Lucas, Nat's niece, was there, and yeah, we met, and that's the start of our...
The rest is history.
The rest is history. 2 sons and 4 granddaughters. And
Wow.
I think too, maybe one thing we could talk about is why did we choose to send our kids here? I mean,
Yeah,
why
yeah,
was
that's
it
a good
so
one.
Oh, that
important
is good.
for us?
Yeah. So why did you choose to send your kids here? Good question that I didn't think of.
Well, I just know how much this education meant to me here, and the connection I had with the teachers and this church, and how valuable it was, a faith foundation, the excellence in education. So we made all sacrifices to make sure our kids were able to go here, and it was hard because for one particular year I had 3 children here, and that was a sacrifice for us as a family, but it was very important to make that sacrifice. And then as grandkids come along, one of our granddaughters is up in the preschool right now, and will soon be making her way through Christ Lutheran School, because our son Jared really sees the value in bringing her up that way.
yeah, I mean, I think we were well prepared. That is always a constant concern for parents. You want them to be able to get into the high school that they want to, and then the college they want to, and be well prepared. And that was never a problem. Our kids did really well.
And continue to be very well prepared.
Any other things I didn't ask?
Boys with white hair.
Hunt.
Hunt.
Yeah.
Charlie Hunt.
Yeah,
Those kids.
Chuck Hunt.
Chuck Hunt. And I wonder whatever happened to them. They
We
were such good
saw, yeah,
He's a newspaper dude, right?
yeah. When was it we heard something about it?
Because he was a good friend of, they were good friends of one of my other students that I just contacted, and I was trying to think of the name. It was the Hunt boys, yeah.
Yeah.
So Nat, tell me a little bit, start again of why you would, a reason why we started the school. You're giving us a reason. These two.
Why am I upside down? Is that a sign of distress?
I think I was on this annual committee. That's probably why.
Probably were. Well, we started it because there were so many young people. Our Sunday, like I said, our Sunday school was huge. We had 400 kids in Sunday school. And as I said, and my dad said, and the other members, the young people are the church of the future. But then he would always correct them and say, no, they're the church of the present. And that's one of the reasons why. It's the great feeder to the church. Tremendous outreach in the community. And I think that's why we still have a school. It's because we want to outreach. And if you look at the, we have new members, and they list 5 or 6 or 7. Almost half of them, if not more, are through the school. So I think the school is our greatest outreach. And these are 2 great examples. Is this video?
It is. This is a good time to say that.
Please, I'm not supposed to be here. They drug me in off the street. But these are 2 of my students from when I was at Christ Lutheran, and true blessings. I worked with Sandy and up at Camp Caroline with Jennifer. So we go way back. And every time I come and see them, I realize what a blessing God has for Christ Lutheran School to bring these people into my life. Now may I go?
You may.
And the same to you.